Hello and welcome to the Mervyn League Podcast. Now, you may notice there is a different host today. Unfortunately, Ben has faced a one-match suspension, but don't worry, he will be back next week. And Alf is currently on gardening leave. But rest assured, John is here. He's here with his fantastic views and insight on the game that we all love, insight on the Euros. And I'll be here too, Ash, giving you the lowdown on all the Euro matches. Now, at the time of recording, we're on the eve of England against the Netherlands, and France and Spain will be playing this evening. So by the time you're watching this, many of the things that we've said may be out of date. Some of our predictions may be way off. But let's get into it. Let's talk about England. So, England against Switzerland. What were your thoughts, John, on that match?
Toney's cojones. And to be fair, the cojones of every single England penalty taker was phenomenal. I thought, that's what it came down to in the end. It came down to moments of individual brilliance, individual clarity, and individual belief, really. There was team unity going on. There was just some real balls up there. No need to grab them like Bellingham did. They just showed them naturally. They showed them with their feet. And they were terrific.
Ivan Toney is certainly a man who lacks no confidence. And I'm very glad I'm not a goalkeeper facing Ivan Toney. I would be in a lot of fear, I think. Now, it's quite good to see strikers sort of throwing it back to the goalkeepers. Traditionally, the goalkeepers have been the ones who've been giving it large, as they would say. So it's kind of nice, kind of refreshing to see that from Ivan Toney there. Now, you had an interesting, how would you describe it? An insight from LinkedIn about
That's
England's
correct.
penalty taking.
From deep inside the corporate world, from the world of consultants and recruiters and salesmen, I saw a post that talked about the buddy system. So in times of in our dark penalty era, what we'd have is along the halfway line, every player would have their arms interlocked, hunched over. Some couldn't look, but they're all there standing in a line in a show of supposed unity. I guess that was the idea, to be like, we're all together, arm in arm. But what you inadvertently created was a hell of a long walk for the player to come back from the penalty spot where they missed or where they scored. And you saw that with Rashford, and you saw that with Saka. They had a long walk back, a long, lonely walk back. So what England have introduced is the buddy system. And what they do is every penalty taker has a buddy, a designated mate who isn't taking a penalty. And what they'll do is they'll go halfway from the halfway line to the penalty spot to collect them. So they don't have to do the whole walk alone, put their arm around them, maybe to celebrate with them, in this case to celebrate with them. But in the unfortunate case that a player would miss, they'd be able to taxi them home in safety to a group which doesn't have their arms interlocked. Instead, they're in little groups that's much easier to approach and to be a part of. And as you said, it's potentially a sign of all the good features of Gareth.
Yeah, so on the pitch, there is plenty of scope for criticism of the way England set up, of the way they play. But I think off the field, a lot of credit does have to go to Gareth Southgate about the way England is a united front. The players are definitely in it together. It's not always the case for international teams. We obviously look back at the turbulent French teams in the past, but also you hear about Man United, ex-Man United players or ex-Chelsea players, where it's Lampard, Scholes, Rooney, talking about that era, the 2000s, and how the changing room was sort of divided between Man United players, Liverpool players, Chelsea players, and there was a kind of rivalry within the squad. So if looking at Gareth Southgate's success, which if we're, yes, heavily criticised, but if we look at the results England have had in this period, the consistent late stages of tournaments, probably that's where England have been able to really succeed, and perhaps that's why we do consistently go far in tournaments, even if it's not to do with the quality of play so much.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the way that Rio Ferdinand, he often seems to dissect why that golden generation didn't succeed. And the main thing he'll talk about is like he said, "Oh yeah, it's Man United and Chelsea players coming together. Oh, perhaps we didn't like Capello behind his back. We didn't like him, or it's often off the pitch issues which they talk about. Firstly, there might be a little bit of that. Oh, can Gerrard and Lampard play together? Where's Scholes going to play?" But it was. I think they talk about now how there was like there wasn't any harmony. I don't know. Capello banned ketchup, or Capello couldn't speak English, or they didn't have that arm around them.
And he didn't know who Jimmy Bullard was.
Yeah, exactly. David Bentley up to his antics.
Exactly, yeah. And that's definitely very clear that the players do love Gareth Southgate. That's very clear.
And each other. There's been no disgruntled voices of not playing. You don't hear anything from Gordon, from Palmer, from Bowen, from anyone really.
No, absolutely. Now, one area Gareth Southgate does get criticised for, and the phrase that kept coming out was being reactive rather than proactive with his substitutions. In that Switzerland game, was Gareth Southgate guilty of being reactive?
Yeah, well, like I said in our earlier discussion, I feel like it's almost impossible to criticise it fully after the fact, because what happened was straight after that goal, England did react really well and they scored, and perhaps it was that momentum that allowed them to win the game. You can't sit there and say he was waiting for the goal, Southgate, or waiting for things to get worse before he could make more of an impact. But that's certainly how it ended up. However, as I know that you firmly believe, perhaps it was unnecessary to invite all that pressure. Perhaps we could have been proactive, made the substitutions, and either scored the goal first, won it in full time, or maybe gone 0-0 to penalties. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Watching that game, it definitely wasn't a goal out of the blue. For probably about 60 minutes of the match, I think England were pretty good. But from the 60 minutes until whenever Switzerland scored, England were getting deeper. There was a lot more Swiss possession. It felt like a goal was coming, or a high-quality chance was coming. And that would have probably been the time to make those substitutions, to be proactive. Now, it is very difficult to criticise Southgate when he is consistently getting the results. But as a fan, it's painful watching England sometimes. Now, that's not me saying that Southgate should be out or anything like that, but it is painful.
Yeah, somehow though you knew, you still had belief. I don't know if you had belief in him, but there was a belief that they would turn it around this time. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if that does come from the fact that Southgate is so cautious, whether he's lucky, whether you know that there's an element of the fact that he waits so long to rely on something to happen. Does that make it happen? I really don't know.
Well, it did happen, and we are in the semi-finals where we'll be facing the Netherlands. Where do you see this one going, John? Obviously, if you're watching this, it's already happened. In which case you can say you guys are geniuses, or you can say you're nutters. Either's fine, we can take it. But John, where do you see this one going?
I really enjoy
cojones on the line. Where is it going?
Well, I enjoy getting my cojones out for these predictions. I like to have a bold prediction, but what I enjoy about having a bold prediction is the moment before the fact where
you clarify
it. You have your good prediction, but you also don't know the result yet. Trouble is with this prediction is going out right after, so I have no time to enjoy it. In fact, what I might have is 3 days of, God, why the hell did I say that? However, my cojones are out and I'm full of optimism, and I think England are going to have too much. I think we've got the players for the big semi-final, and I look at the Netherlands team and I'm not sure they have got the cojones players in the big moments. I don't know, I struggle to see.
Does Weghorst not scare you?
He does.
He's very tall.
He does. I know he's going to come on, and he's going to start running at us. He's going to look angry. There's going to be steam coming out of his nostrils.
There'll be a free kick routine.
He'll launch himself into the box for some of those headers. Yeah, maybe he is. Maybe he does have that presence of mind to know that he's a big player and he can do something. Did you read that he goes for walks with old people back in the Netherlands? He's a kind-hearted fellow.
Is that right?
He's very popular among the Dutch.
Yeah. Well, that's a good reason to hope he doesn't score. Now, I'm going to put my cojones on the line. Yeah, do good as it. Exactly. I'm going to put my cojones on the line as well, and I'm going to say England win this within 90 minutes.
Yeah,
it's not going to be pretty.
I'll go with that.
It's going to be bungled over the line. It's going to be. I'm going to predict the goal scorer as well. I'm going to say it's Ivan Toney.
Yeah, he really has got something about that confidence. That's why he was picked, and I also think that's why he should have been picked. International football is down to absolute belief and almost a real ego, and a brashness. You need to be brash, and boy is he brash.
Yeah, I don't see this one being particularly high scoring, so I'm gonna put a score on this as well. I'm gonna say it is 1-0.
Do you think? Part of me thinks both England and France are due a game where it clicks. I know that just doesn't happen by law of averages. I kind of something in me feels that's going to happen.
Well, that might be a good moment to segue on to a match that is happening in seven minutes.
The big flags out there? Maybe a bit of sprinkler time, then the big flags.
Get the anthems too. Don't forget the anthems.
Of course.
Yeah, the Spanish non-anthem.
No, and the French maybe the best. Up there with the Italians, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. So the form team in this match would look like Spain, but predictions, John, where's this one going?
Yeah, I think it's going France's way. It even defies logic, defies everything, but I think they are due a good performance. Much like the election result, something out of nowhere.
Mbappe, will he finally come to the party?
I hope so. I'd like to see. Actually, I think it's been kind of sad watching him. I know that first game he showed glimmers of it, and we all know what a good player he is. But you want to see him doing more, and I'd love to see it. However, I mean, Spain, it'd be hard to bet against. They're a terrific side. They're actually good to watch, which is rare in a tournament.
I think with Mbappe and these sort of iconic big players, we need them in the tournament. We've just said goodbye to Elvis, aka Cristiano Ronaldo.
He's left the building, Ashley.
He left the building. Probably is Mbappe the only big star left in? Who are the big names left in this tournament?
Well, it's Jude and Mbappe, isn't it? By far, they're the two. I think Lamine Yamal is amazing, but I don't think he's not a big name yet. He's just a very, very good young kid. He doesn't have an ego about him because he hasn't. Also, he's not quite that player, is he? He's not the same as Bellingham. I suppose he is younger. But yes, to answer your question, I think it's Jude and it's Kylian. The script writers are going to want them against each other in the final, and will they find a way?
They will.
Through their own sheer willpower? Well, we've said it's going to happen, so there we go.
Yeah, I'm going to say France is going to win as well. Now, I think I'm probably being unfair to Spain because the whole way throughout the tournament, I've said
it's not to say
I said they wouldn't get out of the group.
Yeah.
I said to Spain before the tournament, I predicted Spain would not get out of the group. I also said they would not get past. Who was it they played in the last round?
Oh God, we need Ben here for
Germany.
this sort of stuff.
I said.
Yeah,
I
that's
said
it.
they.
Oh yeah.
I
And it
I
almost
said
looked
they would
like
not
they
get
were
past
going
it.
to lose that.
So, and that I'm sticking with that. I'm going to say they're not going to get through this match, which inevitably means if
Yeah,
you're
you're
watching
talking me
this,
into back in Spain.
you're preparing that. If you're watching this, you're preparing for them to be in the final. Okay, so we've predicted the final is going to be France against England. I want you to pick a winner as well now.
This is real hypothetical territory. Well, but Ben instructed us to say, of course, that we're not going to have a pod until the next one. Sorry, with Ben till after the fact, till after the tournament. So we're going to be reflecting on everything that's happened.
Reflecting on our stupid comments, our poor predictions, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we're living in a land of hypothesis here that might be completely not even required. However, you'd asked me to pick a winner. My cojones are still out there.
I did.
I think if it's a France-England final, I can't not back our boys. I think England will win. I can't. Honestly, I don't think I could stand here and bet against them if they made it to the final. Redemption. It's going to be a redemption story.
I'm going to say England win as well. This just seems really biased.
What is, yeah.
This just seems like classic.
There's too much emotion
coming
involved.
home stuff.
Yeah,
this seems like classic. I could see if any Europeans are watching this again. This is classic England. It's coming home nonsense. Which I do have a point on this. I think other countries fail to see that we say is coming home, like jokingly, slightly ironic. We don't really mean it. I mean, we sort of mean it, but I think they see it as some kind of like British
nationalist
nationalist kind of arrogance.
Yeah.
But I think they don't get irony, they don't get sarcasm, they don't get humour properly. So I'm basically I'm criticising.
You started that trying to dig yourself out of the hole, but what you did was you tunneled so deep now that you're 6 feet under.
I've criticised the whole of Europe and their kind of nuanced understanding of British culture, English culture,
which is why you think the Three Lions are going to win.
No. It's so hard to call. I'm gonna go with you. The Mervyn League podcast backs England to win the Euros. We put our collective. We will speak for Ben and we will speak for Alf as well. England are going to win the Euros. Our time has come.
Which is a bit crazy, really. What else do you think about the tournament, by the way? Where else do we... Any other thoughts on the tournament as a whole? Because, again, this will be the last podcast before it's over.
I would say this has been an absolutely fantastic Euros. For one particular reason, the fans. The fans have been really something special. The Dutch fans doing that dance where they go sideways, amazing. They've got that bus, brilliant. Got the Turkish fans just so enthusiastic and loud. The fans have been incredible. The Scottish Tartan Army, so many great videos of Scottish people out just having fun. It seemed like a really friendly atmosphere. Yes, there's been a few scuffles here and there, normally involving England fans. But I think for me, that's been the biggest thing about the tournament. It's been really good-spirited.
There's been very little negative press when you think about it. There's been no negative storyline that's dominated the headlines. Most of the chat has been on-pitch stuff. It's been about Elvis. It's been about Kane. It's been about England not playing well and Mbappe not playing well. But it's focused on the pitch. There's been, a real nice lack of controversy. And especially within England. I'm quite happy if all the criticism is just about the way we play. Yeah.
I think that if we're going to go for some negatives, a criticism has been of the pitch
Yeah,
and the quality of pitches.
Yeah, what is that? The weather?
I don't know. They have been cutting up a lot, and I think it has in a few games. It has sort of spoiled the quality of those matches. It's prevented the quality players from playing to their full potential.
Well, I think we are all used now to that Premier League sheen of that bright green grass. Every single Premier League game that plays like a carpet. That has become, even for globally football fans to look at. Anything foul of that in the big tournaments, looks wrong.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing that has come out, there has been a little bit of ethnic nationalism from a few nations. I did learn a lot about. I did learn a lot about the Grey Wolves as well from Turkey.
I saw that. Yeah.
But apart from that, these are pretty minor. Every tournament is going to have some kind of politics in, and maybe the contrast with Qatar, which take politics out of it, was still a decent World Cup. I think everyone who didn't boycott it really did enjoy watching it, but we did miss the fans, the sort of the organised fan parks. That's something that was missing from that tournament. Yeah, there was a few. The Morocco going far in that tournament was good, but in this tournament, so many nations have brought huge and well organised crowds to matches.
I'd like to know what the Germans think, because they're in a bit of a pickle, because they're not going to want the Dutch, they're not going to want the English, and they're going to see one of them in the final. So, I hope they're still invested in Germany.
I imagine they would be. I think it's probably going to be hard for them to avoid Euro fever. All of their major cities have just been so filled with fans. So many stories about Scottish fans coming through the streets and things like that. So I don't know. I think the Germans won't be too disappointed by it. They'll still have Euro fever.
Absolutely. Well, England-France final. England are going to win. That's terrific.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we'll see you next week, where you can ridicule our predictions that we've made tonight. Or you can say you were right. The Mervyn League podcast was right. England is coming home.
Absolutely. It's coming home. 3 lions on the shirt.